There was nothing fateful about meeting someone. For it is said that there's no such thing as fate or destiny. However, the moment a past coincidence is accepted as an inevitability, it will be interpreted as fate. If that's what happened between the raven-haired man with deep gray eyes and the lady with long blonde hair and eyes as blue as the sky, then it wasn't even a coincidence. Their marriage, once a fairy tale romance, is now in shambles. Entering the study, in an afternoon she won't forget, she handed her husband a white envelope containing her profile. He completely ignored it and excused himself for being busy, dismissing her by saying they'll talk later. Not wanting to relent, she told him she'd been investigating him. Tension filled the air as he stared at her. She brazenly asked him why he changed so much. All he did was utter her name. She told him that she already knew their meeting wasn't a coincidence, that he approached her intentionally. He didn't deny it and just gave her an affirmative nod. Gravely hurt by this affirmation, she bitterly laughed in response as she uttered that it must have been hard for him to play lovers with the daughter of the man he deeply loathes. Her father was a marquis and the nephew of the king. The raven-haired man was the Legion commander. He was her father's subordinate. They dated for 2 years, and soon they wed. Everything was perfect, or so she thought. When the monarch was overthrown by the Revolutionary Army, the nobility collapsed, and her father was killed. Her mother committed suicide. Her husband, once a highly skilled spy of their kingdom, was the commander-in-chief of said revolt. She trusted him despite the obvious change in his attitude and character, never minding the blood curdling screams of the public to have her punished and executed. All she needed was his love. Politics be damned. But reality caught up to her and slapped her awake. That's why she's now confronting her husband. And all he did was acquiesce to her inquiries and accusations. When she demanded for the truth, he admitted he hated her father and the royal family. Approaching her was also a part of his plan. When she asked him if he hates her, he did not just admit it. He emphasized how he hates her father and how he detests her. Considering the circumstances, she asked him for divorce. But he refused to do so. Bathed in crimson sunset, he sentenced her to a life of unhappiness. At that moment, she realized that his revenge has just begun. This man reeking with so much hatred is a stark contrast to the man she once knew. Years ago, they would simply spend time in idle chatter, whispering sweet nothings to each other. His promise of making her happy forever under the moonlit sky, when he proposed during their nighttime boat ride, seemed like a part of her imagination. She wished all of these were just a bad dream. But, no. Haunted by nightmares, she spent a sleepless night. She faced the morning with news on the Daily Post still taking about people's hatred against the fallen monarchy and its remaining nobility. As she was going out to get some fresh air, she encountered her husband's loyal subordinate, a blonde man with stern eyes. He scathingly informed her about the proposal to wed her husband to another woman, and it is going smoothly. She told the man she already asked her husband for a divorce and she would gladly appreciate it if he can convince her husband to sign the papers. That night, he visited her bedchambers and informed her that said proposal was already refused quietly. Unfortunately, rumors leaked out. She presented her proposal for a divorce once more, yet again he refused. Instead, he reminded her of the banquet they needed to attend as a couple. When she told him she doesn't want to, he threatened her that he'll send her to a mental hospital if she continues to defy him unreasonably. All her hopes of him returning to her side as the loving husband she once knew, disappeared. He left her anguished and full of anxiety. Having trouble sleeping, she tried to take some sleeping pills, but refrained. She put them in a container, instead. One morning, she summoned for the physician asking for a change of pills and complaining about her headache. When the doctor brushed it aside, the maids hearing the exchange between them did not hide their snide remarks. The day of the banquet arrived. As demanded of her husband, she came with him. People flocked around him, while everyone blatantly ignored her. Not wanting to cause a scene and to somehow avoid the agonizing hateful gaze of the other guests, she cupid herself by drinking cocktails on the liquor table. Whilst she's busy with the cocktails, one guest boldly asked her husband about his marriage talks with the lady he previously declined. He replied bluntly that he'll obviously reject the proposal, for he already has a wife. Unfortunately, the blonde lady did not hear him give such a reply. She was consuming glass after glass of the intoxicating drink. Wallowingly, she was about to take her 5th glass of liquor when her husband held her shoulder and took it from her. Puzzled, she looked up at him. Blue met gray, time seemed to stop. They were both a bit startled when someone announced that a master pianist would serenade the guests. Said pianist is a known genius and was the blonde lady's idol. Hearing the pianist play made her smile the way she used to. She failed to notice the sidelong glance her husband was giving her. After the performance, a guest maliciously urged her to play for them. Not getting any signs of protest from her husband in her behalf made her yield. It ended up with a horrible performance. Later that night, alone in his study, the raven-haired man pondered over his wife's obvious display of trauma over a mere piano performance. She was a prodigy of said instrument and enjoyed every second she's playing. Why would she be terrified of the mere sight of it? In her room, the blonde lady was staring at the piano. She tried to play but to no avail. The trauma from her younger years, when her father was killed by the revolutionaries right in front of her piano, was so vivid that the mere sight of it made her tremble. Her only solace, playing the piano, is now the root of her terror. It is then realized there's really nothing left for her. One day, while she was doing some needlework, her husband once again visited her bedchambers. This time, to confront her about her refusal to eat. He inspected her dresser and found out piled-up medicines, including her sleeping pills and other medications meant to alleviate chronic pains. One thing led to another, and his intent to coax her to eat became an argument that led him to say insensitive things. Threatening to force-feed her made her eat. Her smile, which used to be bright, is now constantly replaced by a blank facade. Her embroidery, an incoherent mess of sorts. These changes did not miss her husband's silent scrutiny. Wanting an escape, she asked to be allowed some time alone outside. But, her husband, the raven-haired man, saw through her scheme and realized immediately that it's her way of escaping her meals. Their encounter ended up with a threat coming from him. One more meal refusal would mean a confinement in the hospital. Inside his own room, her husband, the raven-haired man, took off his shirt and stared at the mirror. On his chest were a set of written scars, which meant a young man who had sex with men for money. Seeing the jarring mark on his skin makes even the most beautiful memories with his wife a horrid part of his past. One sunny day, the blonde lady went out to their courtyard to ease the tiredness that she's feeling. Alone, she pondered about the things she did to return their relationship the way they used to. She remembered the night she willingly surrendered herself to her husband, hoping that by having a child it would save their marriage. He did not reject her and they shared a moment of intimacy in his room. But he never showed her his body. Afterwards, without even sharing a meal with her, he left her in his cold room after the deed was done. She wondered why he did not reject her. As she agonized about her husband's actions, she felt the warmth of the sun and wished she could die that way. A greeting from someone broke her reverie. A lady with short lustrous red hair. The lady whom the people around her husband are rooting to be his wife. She boldly told her about their faction's plan to marry her to the blonde lady's husband. The blonde lady brushed her off by saying that talks of marriage are best discussed with her husband. She already asked him to divorce her. The red-haired lady need not worry. That same day, as she was spending her time inside their residence, her childhood friend, a man with golden hair and eyes of the same hue, visited her. He was an aristocrat. His family was a supporter of the fallen monarchy. He was able to escape arrest because he was working abroad when the monarchy fell. Recently he got divorced and was appointed ambassador of a foreign country, where remnants of the fallen monarchy went for refuge. Still harboring feelings for her, just like in the past, he visited to ask her to come with him. But she's seen right through his intentions. She's a member of the royal family. The moment she takes his hand, it will help his family and other aristocrats. Torn between her lingering feelings for her husband and the urge to run away, she hesitated and asked for time to think about the golden-eyed man's offer. After all, it's her last chance to get away from her husband. That night, as she was sharing a meal with her husband, he asked what she and the golden-eyed man talked about. To which she told him there's nothing to tell since the servants heard the whole conversation. Her husband insisted that it is also important to hear her side. She told him that her childhood friend, the golden-eyed man, wanted her to get divorced and come with him. Her husband then asked if the reason for her request to divorce their marriage is because she wanted to marry the golden-eyed man. She found his question ridiculous. What started as a simple inquiry about a visitation turned sour. And yet again her husband made it clear that he is not letting her go. His accusation was baseless. She already abhorred the idea that her childhood friend and his peers are merely eyeing her as a tool just because she has royal blood in her veins. Just the mere thought of being used creeps her out. However, her husband's unwillingness to divorce her puzzles her, to the point that she felt suffocated inside their residence. Morning came. The blonde-haired lady decided to go far away and visit a place she loved, using the excuse of going to church to pray, and going all thorny when the servants tried to stop her. She left alone without an attendant and boarded the train. She visited the sea. As the sun was setting, she was captivated by the scenery. It made her want to have a souvenir. Luckily, a local painter offered to paint her for free. The painting itself turned marvelous. Feeling shy as she saw her face, which she thought is way prettier than she actually was, she decided to buy one of the painter's previous works. A breathtaking painting of the sea genuinely caught her attention. As she smiled at the sheer beauty of the painting, she radiated an aura akin to that of an innocent child. Little did she know her husband was nearby, and saw the spectacle she made as she beamed at the painting she purchased. Unbeknownst to her, he's been following her from the train station. Right after she left, a servant reported about her display of hostility. Her husband immediately boarded his motored vehicle and rushed to the station, just in time for the train to board its passengers. What urged him to follow was her demeanor. Though she purchased a train ticket, she doesn't seem to be planning to run away. He suspected she'll be meeting her childhood friend, but that too was just his vague speculations. Her husband saw how she enjoyed the sea, and wondered when was the last time she smiled that way. Memories flooded him. Her pristine and noble smile was a treat she would solely address to him. Those days were his happiest. Not wanting to welcome useless thoughts of blissful moments, her husband was tempted to approach and grab her and take her back to their residence. But seeing how happy she was made him unable to move. Dusk was fast approaching. She decided to soak her feet and collect some seashells. Feeling out of sorts, she walked absent-mindedly towards the deeper part of the sea. Seeing her unusual behavior, her husband ran to stop her. It startled her to find him there. She expected he'll send a servant or a low-ranking officer to apprehend and bring her back. Not the very man himself. He safely brought her to the shore and told her to pick up her things which she left unattended. As she did so, she accidentally wounded her left foot. Despite her protests, he carried her to a nearby lodging and booked a room so that she can wash her wound, which he bandaged as soon as she finished cleaning it. Her husband, the raven-haired man, plagued by the idea that she was planning to see her childhood friend, asked why is she so hell-bent in going to the sea, to the point that she ostracized her servants by lying. She told him all she wanted was to visit the sea. Her husband voiced out his concern about the way she left her things unattended on the shore, to which she replied that she forgot about the possibility that someone could steal her things. He gave her a stern scolding and ended up saying that he hates how she remained her naivety about her, despite the change that is happening around her. Taking it at face value, she acquiesced to his scolding and berated herself. She even called herself foolish for hurting her foot by merely retrieving her belongings, criticized the way she blindly confessed her love for the man who hated her, and how she thoughtlessly hoped their relationship would return to the way it was. She honestly admitted that in the span of their marriage, she loved him for more than 3 years. It didn't matter to her that he spearheaded the downfall of their kingdom and the death of her parents. Her husband asked her if she loved him still. She honestly told him that her feelings don't matter anymore, nothing would change, her heart is already useless anyway. They ended up staying for the night and shared a room. As she lay down to sleep, her husband continues to skim through the documents a subordinate brought for his perusal. She wondered why he still chased after her when he openly admits his hatred of her and her family. She can't understand his intentions. As her husband was about to approach the bed, it was then she decided to take some sleeping pills. He inquired about her plight and was outright chided for relying to medications to sleep. Her husband prepared some warm chamomile tea as an alternative to stimulate sleep. While she enjoys the warm drink, her husband took the liberty of inspecting her bag and saw the address card her childhood friend, the golden-haired man, left for her. His words were quiet but accusatory as he asked her about the incriminating item, to which she assured him that she wasn't planning to meet with him. Feeling that another argument might arise, the blonde-haired lady bid her husband good night and went to sleep. Watching her made her husband uneasy, he left the bed and continued inspecting her things. He threw away in the trash can the seashells he found in the pocket of her long coat. As he wondered why she collected such impractical things, he remembered how she described herself, moments ago, as something useless. Feeling uncomfortable, her husband went out the balcony and smoked. It gave him momentary comfort, allowing him to muse over things. It exasperated him that no matter how much he drags his wife down and trample on her, she can still touch the deepest, most vulnerable part of him with her mere presence. A few days later, the blonde lady decided to go out. This time with a servant. Riding the motored vehicle, she asked her companion where can they find a deserted jewelry shop. The companion, who also drives for her, mentioned a place in a secluded alleyway. Unfortunately, vehicles can't fit in there, they'll need to walk. She thought it was fine and agreed with it. Reaching their destination by foot, she went in and sold her expensive trinkets. They were gifts from her husband, the raven-haired man. When he was still playing the role of a loving suitor, he would often gift her with shiny and expensive trinkets, because he knows how she favors such frivolities. After appraisal, the jeweler announced that the trinkets amounted to £2,300, an amount that someone can live off for a very long time. The jeweler asked her if she finds the amount favorable. She told him to proceed as is. As she did so, she noticed her wedding ring and had it appraised. The ring alone amounts to £7,000. In her lifetime, even the era of her family's regime, she never owned a jewelry as expensive as her wedding ring, which was a gift from her husband. Unfortunately, the jeweler can't purchase her ring. Their shop can't produce that vast amount. She was told to approach bigger shops if ever she really wanted to dispose of her ring. Finished with her dealings, she went out and met with her companion. As they were walking back to their vehicle, she noticed a young man with red eyes. His gaze made her uncomfortable. And for good reason. Because all of a sudden, he pulled out a pistol and shot her in the abdomen. Searing, burning pain beyond compare shot right through her. She remembered that her husband, in the past, was shot 3 times. How painful it must have been. As her consciousness fades away, she recalled the hateful gaze of her shooter. Musing why he didn't shoot her in the head instead of her abdomen, she lost consciousness. Her husband, the raven-haired man, was busy as usual when the call arrived. Ignoring the pile of work in front of him, he rushed to the hospital. She was still unconscious when he arrived. The attending physician briefed her husband about her condition. According to him, the gunshot wound wasn't that deep, so she's out of danger. However, because of said incident, she had a miscarriage. It also affected her ability to conceive again. Her husband wasn't expecting the baby. To think their periodic intimacy of 4 years would come to fruition. Believing her to be barren, news of her pregnancy surprised him. The doctor informed him that they will remove the remnants of her pregnancy as soon as she wakes up. In response, the raven-haired man ordered that news of his wife's condition must remain a secret. Remembering the blonde lady's previous chronic episodes, her husband inquired if pregnancy can trigger sleeplessness. The doctor gave an affirmative answer and added that women can also experience digestive problems and headaches when pregnant, all of which were symptoms the blonde lady showed previously. Her husband requested the doctor to inspect the previous medications she'd been taking and find if there's a better alternative. The blonde lady awoke from a dream where she and her husband were sharing an intimate time. When she woke up, she saw her husband having an unusually pained and troubled expression. The doctor was summoned and explained her situation. He left immediately afterwards. She asked her husband how old the child was. It was 11 weeks old. Counting, she realized it was from that night, of which she dreamt about, that the baby was conceived. As she was mulling over things, her husband shocked her with a proposition. He offered her to adopt a child. She ridiculously stared at him and asked what was he talking about. Her husband told her that he is aware of her ardent desire to have a child. If she still wishes to have one, since the doctor said she'll be having a hard time conceiving a child, he's allowing her to adopt one. Her frustration skyrocketed at his indifference with her plight, not to mention he considered her miscarriage a blessing in disguise considering their current situation. Knowing that he is not interested with the idea of having a child, she outright declined his offer. She told him she doesn't need it anymore, that it's not politically advantageous. When her husband insisted on his proposition, she brushed him off by saying she wanted to rest and that she needed some time for herself. Alone in her reverie, she grudgingly agreed in silence with her husband that it is a blessing of some sort that they lose the child. It would only suffer in a household that lacks love. But still she felt a gaping void as she accepted this truth. Days later, after their consultation with her attending physician and she was given new prescription drugs, her husband informed her of his intent to change her usual doctor. Not wanting to argue, she agreed to his plans. He'd do whatever he wants anyway. On the day of her discharge, reporters flocked outside, hungry for a gossip they can print. Prompted by her husband to ignore the press, she remained silent amidst the questions being thrown everywhere. But one voice among the rest caught her attention. She stopped to look who it was. A brown-haired woman was shouting and forcefully introducing herself. It was the sister of the young man who shot her. Hearing this, the reporters turned their attention to the brown-haired woman. Everyone's asking her for an interview, but the brown-haired woman declined. She insisted that she'll only talk to the madam, the blonde-haired lady who was the wife of the commander-in-chief, the raven-haired man. The blonde lady's husband immediately gave orders to remove the brown-haired lady. As her husband's subordinates extricate the woman from the vicinity, she shouted at the blonde lady that she'll wait for her to get in touch. During this exchange, her husband, the raven-haired man, urged the blonde lady to board their motorized vehicle. It was raining outside, the pitter-patter of the rain on the roof of their motorized vehicle and the coziness of its interior made room for musings. The blonde lady wondered if she's seen the brown-haired woman somewhere. Was she holding a grudge against her? The crease on her brows did not escape her husband, who was just sitting beside her. When he inquired what's worrying her, she voiced out her concern about the woman. Her husband brushed her worries aside by reminding her that she's both a victim and a patient. She need not concern herself about the woman. During their exchange, the blonde lady discovered that her husband had been intercepting the letters sent to her by the brown-haired woman. She opted not to get angry, but she asked her husband to investigate her, in exchange for the letters he stole from her. After a few days, she received reports about the brown-haired woman. She read it by the window of her room. As she did so, she saw her husband walking with the lady with lustrous red hair. They seemed to be having a good time talking to each other. Her husband suddenly looked up to her bedroom window. Their eyes met, blue meets gray, but he immediately looked away. Taking it as rejection, the blonde lady moved away from her window. She failed to see that her husband once again looked up with a look of longing in his eyes. The lady with red hair witnessed it though. In her room, after reading the correspondence that she received, she decided to get in touch with the brown-haired woman and confront whatever lingering issues she have with her. It'll be her first and last chance to confront her past, so she can move forward. Days before her meeting with the brown-haired woman, her husband introduced her new doctor. She was a kind-looking female physician with soft green eyes. The blonde lady welcomed the change, but she got agitated when talks about psychological consultation was mentioned. She outright told her husband she'll not have any of it, but her husband told her that it is necessary. Little did her husband know. The blonde lady is perfectly aware of her own psychological problem. When she's under too much stress, she begins to question her reality, whether she's in a dream or not. She refuses any talks of consultation because she's scared that the truth will be revealed. Days went by and her meeting with the brown-haired woman came. Her husband, the raven-haired man, insisted she brought guards with her, but she stonewalled and told him she'll have a private chat with the woman instead. Seeing she won't relent, he handed her his personal knife, just as a precaution. She met with the brown-haired woman and discovered the shocking truth about her father. According to the woman, her brothers and the other commoners who joined the cause for the revolution were simple citizens, oppressed by the privileged and their whims. Said members of the revolutionary forces acted as spies. Unfortunately, spies who are caught are tortured horribly and then are immediately executed to avoid the eyes of the media. Said torture during inquisitions was headed by her father, the Marquis. One of the gravely tortured spies that the Marquis interrogated himself was the older brother of the brown-haired woman. The night her brother was tortured was the night the blonde lady held her piano concerto. Right after the Marquis tortured the older brother of the brown-haired woman, he immediately left the vicinity, after he left instructions to execute the man. The blonde lady vividly remembered that event. As soon as her family took their photo, right after her piano recital, she noticed the commotion just outside the venue gates. Curious, she asked her father. But all he told her was an individual was appealing about a trial they violated. Taking her father's word at face value, she believed him and naively continued enjoying the lavish party they prepared. That night, as she was enjoying the night air in the balcony of her room, she saw a young lady her age, with bloodshot eyes from crying, being apprehended by the guards. It was a sight she's not used to. She stood there frozen. It was as if she was forced to see the depths of human depravity. Brushing it off as a coincidence then, she now remembered where she saw the brown-haired woman. It was her that night. The young lady who was causing a scene at their gates. As the brown-haired woman continued with her story, she made it clear that she wasn't there to appeal for what her younger brother did to the blonde lady. He deserves to be punished. She just wanted the blonde lady to know their story, and how her older brother died. Is ignorance a bliss or a sin? The brown-haired woman doesn't know. She doesn't even know if it's justifiable to blame the blonde woman. Wishing for her full recovery, the brown-haired woman bid her farewell. The blonde lady uttered a sincere apology before her guest can leave. Followed by another, and then another. Meeting the brown-haired woman made her realize one thing: all the horrible things that transpired, which she failed to understand at that time, were irreversible. That night she visited her husband's study and handed a petition for leniency for her assailant, the younger brother of the brown-haired woman. Surprised with her action, he confronted her. Why would she write a leniency petition for her attacker? Sarcastically, he inquired if she plans to be a saint. Unwilling to ride with his provocations, the blonde lady calmly pointed out that they both know she can't be a saint. To her husband's surprise, she smiled at him the way she used to smile when they were still sweet to each other. As he wondered about her actions, the blonde lady apologized to her husband. She apologized for everything that transpired, even for the ones she had no knowledge of. But her husband brushed her off and told her she shouldn't be apologizing to him. She acquiesced by saying she'll bear that in mind. Later that night, as she was taking her bath, she pondered about the things that happened. The things that make her suffer, her ruined relationship with her husband, everything is just full of despair. Holding her husband's personal knife that he handed her earlier that day, she decided to act drastically. Her bath water turned crimson. As she was having her bath, her husband reviewed the leniency petition she submitted. Comparing her past love letters to the petition she wrote, it was visually evident how her penmanship changed. Her once calligraphy quality letters are now akin to the scribbles of a child. Looking through her past letters sent him back to memory lane. Those times when they were so in love that none of the horrors of the past matter. Her husband immediately stopped his reverie when he noticed something was off about her actions. She never apologized, at least not in person. She would always do it in her letters. Flooded with unspeakable fear, her husband rushed to her chambers to find her bathroom locked. He rammed the door until it gave way. The scene that welcomed her husband was her bathing in her own blood. She slashed her wrist using his personal knife. Lifting her from the bath, he shouted at a servant to go fetch the doctor. Worry flooded his face as he called her name over and over. But she won't even stir. Fortunately, her doctor was fast enough to close the wound on her wrist before it was too late. That night, after she was declared stable, her husband returned to his chambers. He spent a sleepless night dreaming about his wife when he first saw her. What started as a sweet reverie became an instant nightmare as the horror of his reality caught up to him. He woke up uttering his wife's name. Her husband spent the whole day in her room, waiting for her to wake up. When she won't even stir after a day has passed, he asked the doctor and received grave news. The blonde lady's constitution is already weak to begin with, due to the previous shooting incident, her miscarriage, and at present, her suicide attempt. Her body has gotten too weak and can't keep up. She went into shock from excess bleeding. Waking up depends on her will to survive. Her husband finds it hard to fathom how she was able to commit such a thing. She's afraid of many things, including the mere sight of blood. It terrifies her. Torn between his hatred and the unspoken feeling welling up somewhere inside him, he despaired about the blonde lady's unchanging situation. The malicious articles in the news only thwarted the facts about her suicide attempt. Some accused her of lobbying for sympathy, others called her unpleasant, while others used her plight as a lesson to learn from. All of the baseless accusations made her husband want to shoot the media that flocked right outside their gate. Her husband was having those ill thoughts when the butler informed him that his wife's childhood friend, the golden-eyed man, has arrived and requesting to see the blonde lady. The blonde lady's husband immediately gave orders to drive the visitor away. But he was informed that the guest would like to see him instead. Having no desire to face the visitor, propriety urged him to entertain him and instructed the butler to show the visitor to the main hall's drawing room. The moment the blonde lady's husband entered the room, the golden-eyed man rained him with accusations and blamed him for what happened with the blonde lady. Grabbing him by the collar, the golden-eyed man confronted the blonde lady's husband. The golden-eyed man demanded the blonde lady's husband to hand her over to him. But her husband had seen through his real intention. The golden-eyed man plans to bring the blonde lady to the monarchy restoration forces. They hope to resurrect the monarchy using his wife's noble lineage. What they do not know is that she's barren. She won't be of any use to them. Keeping her secret, the blonde lady's husband stonewalled and refused to relent. Out of desperation, the golden-eyed man threatened the blonde lady's husband that he'll sue him in court for driving his own wife to suicide. That alone would be basis enough for a divorce. The blonde lady's husband dared the golden-eyed man if he truly believes she'll be happier if he took her away. In response, he scathingly told the blonde lady's husband that at least he knows she won't be unhappy to the point that she'll want to commit suicide. The visitor came and gone. The blonde lady's husband went on a break, but work still came. His subordinate brought it to him. As he was signing the papers, his subordinate maliciously implied that the blonde lady deliberately committed suicide to earn sympathy. Her husband corrected the speculation. She committed suicide with the sole intent to kill herself. When the subordinate left, her husband decided to visit her room. He took advantage of the fact that his wife has been transferred to the annex to recuperate, and tried to inspect her room to look for signs connected to her suicide. What he found astounded him. In a safe he found the seashells he threw in the trash bin, safely tucked in a jewelry drawstring pouch. Her wedding ring carefully kept in its original box, and an accounting document from the Citizens Association, which she was in charge of back then. Seeing all of it up close made her husband realize that she's been preparing to disappear. Her ring in his hand, the blonde lady's husband visited her. He is still undecided about his feelings. All he knows is that he hates her, he'll continue to resent her, to seek revenge against her. But he still wanted her to stay at his side. Whilst the blonde lady is unconscious, her husband promised to take her to the sea as soon as she wakes up. He'll let her watch the sea as much as she wants, let her do whatever she wants. The blonde lady woke up from a dream where she can hear a piano playing. When she came to, she saw her husband's face. Her nonchalant expression was immediately replaced by terror. Her husband was hoping she'll regret harming herself. But no, all he saw from her was her disappointment that she failed to kill herself. When her emotions abated a bit, she had a brief talk with her husband. She asked him if he saved her, he said yes. She wondered why he saved her when he hates her. She believes her husband wishes for her demise. Her suicide is fitting for such an end. Her husband told her he never wished for her to die. The next day, the blonde lady fully recovered her consciousness and was returned to her bedchambers. From that day onwards, her childhood friend, the golden-eyed man, visited her frequently and continuously persuaded her to divorce her husband. He's been telling her to go away with him and live with the other nobles abroad. Seeing it as a perfect opportunity, the blonde lady seized the moment and informed her childhood friend that she's barren. The monarchy can't use her to continue the royal bloodline. Even as a symbol of the royal family, she is worthless. Shock momentarily filled his face. However, it didn't stop him from persuading her. True enough, the monarchy sent him to visit her often for the exact purpose she mentioned. But his reason was personal. He is still in love with her. Nevertheless, when she asked him if he'll marry her, his answer became vague. He gave a hesitant yes, but gave valid excuses such as his recent divorce and her ongoing separation talks with her husband. Despite his indefinite answer to her inquiry, he brazenly asked her one more time if she'll come with him. The blonde lady's childhood friend left with his offer still left hanging. As he treaded the long hall of their residence, the golden-eyed man encountered the blonde lady's husband. Sensing that the golden-eyed man failed to persuade the blonde lady, her husband sarcastically told the golden-eyed man that it's about time he stopped pestering her. He also told him that she's barren and she won't be of any use to the monarchy. But the golden-eyed man retaliated by saying that he knows about her condition. When asked how, he blatantly lied and hinted that he knew it from the start. This exchange between the two made the blonde lady's husband reiterate in firm tones that no matter what the golden-eyed man does, they will never divorce. That the blonde lady can never leave him. As the golden-eyed man watched the back of the blonde lady's husband, he realized the look the man had in his eyes. Those were the eyes of a defeated soldier. His words weren't for anyone, it was for himself. That night, as the blonde lady lay on her bed, wallowing, she mused over the things that transpired that morning. Specifically, the part where she asked her childhood friend, the golden-eyed man, if he'll marry her. Seeing how he hesitated, she reasoned it out as a natural reaction, considering her current situation. There's no benefit to be legally tied to a woman who has nothing to offer. However, the thought of being the golden-eyed man's lover is overwhelming. Her reverie was broken when her husband entered her room unannounced. He invited her for a nightly stroll outside. Much to her husband's surprise, she relented without fuss. Despite being dressed warmly, her husband kindly offered his gloves for her to wear. She accepted without fuss, which surprised her husband even more. During their stroll, her husband asked if there's a place she would like to go to. She gave him a nonchalant none. He offered to take her to the beach once the weathers got warmer, and made other plans to go to places she'd like. All she gave him was a resigned yes. Her husband was baffled with her attitude but felt relieved. However, the next day, a sharp-edged comb was found in her room. This prompted her husband to consult a professional and proceed with her psychological consultation. The blonde lady still acts indifferent with the sessions, but she's no longer refusing it. As part of her rehabilitation, her husband is making efforts to strike conversations with her. All she does is nod or give brief replies full of resignation. Still, it made her husband a bit relieved. But no. Something is still making him anxious, he just can't put a name to it. This neutral relationship continued until it was time for the holidays. On a winter morning, the blonde lady's husband bought a brooch for her as a surprise gift. Feeling optimistic, he decided to hand it to her personally. He treaded the hall that leads to her chambers, planning to ask her to go outside for a stroll. As her husband tried to open the door of her room, he realized it was locked. Dread flooded him. The servant that was appointed to keep the blonde lady company at all times came and informed him that she left his wife for a while to fetch some water. Filled with fear, he rammed the door until it gave away. His trepidation became reality. For there, up on the ceiling, a red rope can be found. The blonde lady on the other end hanging by its noose. Driven by urgency, her husband cut the rope and caught her. Shock and relief engulfed him. She's still alive. Lost as to what could he do for her, he barraged her with questions and propositions. What does she think she's doing? What can he do to make her stop her suicide attempts? All she uttered was she no longer wanted to live. Would she promise she'll live if he divorced her? If she wishes to live with her childhood friend, the golden-eyed man, he'll allow it. All her husband asked of her is to continue to live in exchange for her freedom. Immediately after her recent attempt on her life, divorce process flowed smoothly. Until the finalization came. The executor of wills handed her the document to sign. It'll end their marriage for good. She signed without fuss. As she did so, the secretary told her that she could stay in the residence even after the divorce. She politely declined and promptly made preparations to leave. Treading the hallway that leads to the front door, her ex-husband approached her. He handed her the brooch he bought for her and a handkerchief embroidered in gold thread. Wishing her a warm year-end holiday marked their final goodbye. Going outside, the blonde lady's mind is filled with thoughts of recent events. The divorce she longed for happened in an instant, but she felt nothing about it. Remembering her husband's pleading voice as he promised to divorce her as long as she promised to continue living, made her consider if she should die. Lost in her reverie, she ended up on a public bench. Staring blankly at the brooch her husband handed her, she wondered what can she do to end her life. Approaching footsteps made her look up. The blonde lady's ex-husband watched her leave. He watched her disappearing back as she walks away from their residence. Alone, he mused, where did their relationship go wrong? His ex-wife wasn't wrong when she accused him of approaching her intentionally. But the order of things, as she believed they were, weren't right either. Seeing her for the first time filled him with blind admiration. He became her father's, the Marquis, dog, so he can get closer to her. For he knows that there's no way someone like him of lower status can get her attention. He fought hard, killing and murdering countless people in a dirty and bloody manner just to have her. In the end, they just grew apart. Her ex-husband resented her because it took his blood and sacrifice just to make her happy. It was all because of her that he turned out the way he did. Everything about him started with her. It all started when he was 15, in a secret military training camp, an island located in the southern seas, run by the royal corps, whose head was none other than her father, the Marquis. Orphans were discarded as an excuse to beautify the kingdom's surroundings, but in reality, they were sent to be trained as spies. In there, it was a dog-eats-dog situation. It matters not if they murder each other, what matters most is that the camp produces the best spies that the kingdom could use. The lesser trainees survived, the lesser the kingdom would need to spend. When his sole friend got murdered during one of their training exercises, he killed all senior students who were instrumental to his death, not because he wanted to avenge his death, he just found it the perfect opportunity to show off his skills. This is how he earned the attention of the Marquis. That night, after the demise of their seniors, their instructor informed him of the Marquis' exclusive invitation to luncheon in his lavish mansion. It was every trainee's dream. To be invited to his residence is akin to recruitment to his exclusive troupe. He was filled with awe as he saw the luxurious place, even more amazed as he gazed at the awe-inspiring painting at the ceiling of the Marquis Palace. Even the dishes were so elaborate and over the top. After lunch, they were given an exclusive treat to the Marquis' extravagant rose garden. They were given free pass to explore and enjoy the place. Feeling tired, he searched for a place to waste time and grab some sleep. He found the perfect spot under a tree where a marble seat stood. As his consciousness faded to sleep, he suddenly heard a familiar melody being played in a piano. He doesn't know the title or who composed it, but he knows it from an old music box he used to listen to. Following the source of music, he found himself staring at a girl by the piano. Radiant and divine, her beauty reminds him of the majestic Saint Mary he saw moments ago during their lunch with the marquis in the ceiling painting of the mansion. As if compelled to get closer, he took a step forward, only to snap a twig as his foot stepped on it. Not wanting to be seen as an intruder, he ran away, missing the curious face on the young lady when she heard the noise. Running as fast as he could, he found himself deep in the gardens, a good distance away from the source of the spellbinding piano playing. Berating himself for getting attracted to the sound, he reminded himself that music plays no part in survival. But he can't fully drive it away. Unable to forget, unable to let go, her music became the eternal focus of his life. Driven with the desire to hear her music and see her once more, he aced all training camp exercises just so he can be included again in the list of trainees that the marquis will invite to his residence. Top marksman, outstanding in loyalty education, he became the topper of their class. Once again, his achievements came to fruition, it caught the marquis' attention, and once more he was invited to the luxurious mansion. As soon as luncheon was over, and they were given free access to roam the gardens, he rushed to where he first saw her. As expected, she was there, playing that same melody he yearns for. Listening to her piano performance felt like they're the only ones left in the world. Because it seems like, from somewhere far away, where cold reality does not exist, their hearts are entwined in happiness. She became his sole inspiration. But, no matter how well a man hides his innermost feelings, it is bound to spill out. One evening, as he was visiting the infirmary to have his periodic injection of mood stabilizer, their physician, a kind elderly woman, hinted that she notices a change in his demeanor. Brushing it off, he hoped to divert her attention. Instead, she kindly warned him. Aspiring for something can be poisonous. The next day, to his surprise, her bloodied body was found, a noose tied around her neck. Winter came and the dreaded biannual torture and survival training began. Amidst the harshness of their drills, his solace was the simulated scenes he plays in his head. Not minding the insults, being called useless beings whose sole purpose is to become the bodies that can be sacrificed for the peace of their nation. He spent 4 years enduring the harsh environment of the training camp, rewarding himself by secretly watching her play the piano, come rain or shine, whenever he was included in the top class invited at the Marquis Manor. During those 4 years he believed that the sheltered, innocent girl would empathize and be angry on his behalf should she become aware of his existence and the darkness of the training camp. He put her in a pedestal, considered her a noble and sacred being capable of sympathizing with the unfortunate. This is what he believed meeting her would turn out. And so, his 4 years of enduring the harsh training camp came to fruition. He became a member of the special task forces who served directly under the Marquis. But that alone wasn't enough. Forgetting the kind physician's warning entirely, he aimed for a higher dream. Seeing the new assignment as a means to be promoted in the regular army, he aimed to get closer to her. On that day, before he went on his mission, he bought an elaborate bouquet of blue hydrangeas. In the language of flowers, it symbolizes a desire for greater understanding of each other, abundance and wealth. Watching her from afar, on the exact same spot for 4 years, he dared to utter her name. Hearing her name on his lips evoked a plethora of emotions he dared not put a name. Overwhelmed with embarrassment, he left the bouquet on the windowsill and left. He took mission after mission while keeping tabs on her through newspapers. The blonde lady he cherishes won competitions one after the other. He worked harder than a horse, as if keeping up with her achievements. 5 years later, in the summer of 712, returning to the Marquis's mansion, he discovered that the practice room was transferred to the inner part. He will not be able to see her anymore unless luck permits it. He started having insecure thoughts. A man, such as himself, blood-stained from head to toe, can't be a match to the most beautiful and noble lady of their land. Was his struggle even meaningful? Treading the mansion's halls, he looked down at the rose garden and saw her by chance. His comrade in arms teased him about how smitten he is with her, but he brushed him aside by saying that a man of low birth, like him, will never be even considered. Rumors has it that the blonde lady was not up for ranks alone. She's been seeing various kinds of people. Even her father, the Marquis, can't interfere with her love life. Still, he debunked his comrade's teasing. Even if she's dating outside of her rank, it has to be someone of the highest middle class or above. An official enlistment would immediately raise one's social rank, according to his friend. People from the training camp should keep their background if they so wish to apply. But the raven-haired man wasn't paying attention to his comrade's yapper. He was busy thinking about the blonde lady's relationship. Who were the guys she met? Whose hand did she hold? To whom did she smile at? He chided himself for the outrageous things he's been thinking. He abhors the way he felt jealous about her interactions with others. Autumn of that same year, outside the borders of their land. Their special operations unit went out on another mission. The wind was cold and the terrain was unforgiving. Exchange of friendly banter occur among their members. In spite of romance being an inconvenience to spies such as themselves, a casual inquiry about love transpired. The mood became awkward as the raven-haired man shared his opinion. He is neither the possessive kind nor the type of lover who cherishes the woman he adores. To do so is pointless. What's precious to him is also precious to others, she'll likely to be taken away eventually. Rather than allowing others to take her, it'll be better to destroy her. If she can't be entirely his, better off she won't be any good to anyone at all. Wallowing, he thought of her. But the more he thinks of her, the more miserable he felt. He must be really broken, even more than anyone in their troop can be. How he wished they met. A wish that became even more distant. Their mission failed. There was a traitor among them. Members of the special operations were captured save for one. A man with red hair. He's a capable operative. He'll definitely bring reinforcements, but before they can reach them, they have to hold out as much as they can. Easier said than done. Every day is agony. The torture was relentless. Extreme beating precedes interrogation. It's a daily routine dealing with physical pain and mental anguish. Days of torture and attempt at mental manipulation failed to make him spill anything. Their captors changed their approach. They let the raven-haired man meet with one of his comrades, a copper-haired guy. He urged him to agree to the interrogators and spill it all. They won't set them free anyway, better die quickly after spilling it all. The raven-haired guy stood his ground and refused. The copper-haired guy told him that the red-headed guy who escaped was the traitor. The thought already crossed his mind, but loyalty to his comrades brushed that possibility aside. Now that it's out in the open, there's nothing much to mope about. They just have to think of a way of holding their ground and die or die trying to escape the goddamned place. But it wasn't the case. His comrades fell one by one, unable to withstand the torture. The copper-haired guy being the first. He was killed right in front of his eyes. The torture they inflicted on him became worse as days went by, still he stonewalled. Not wanting to give in, hoping to go home, back to the blonde lady he so admires. Amidst the torture that left him scarred, he found solace with thoughts of the blonde lady. Even when they burned his chest and wound him writing the words that meant he is a young male prostitute of their kingdom, he kept his mouth shut. He believes that a day will come when he will come home to her, that she'll accept the scarred man that he is. He put his faith in her, the blonde lady, that her demeanor is as noble as her music, that in the moment he tells her his story, she'll be angry for him, she'll console him. She'll be able to face the horror of his own reality. His endurance came to fruition when at last their kingdom declared an all-out war against the kingdom of their captors. Soldiers attacked the prison and captives were freed except for their fellow spies who were on the verge of dying. They were killed, as per their orders, because they'll only become a liability. The raven-haired man and a fellow spy, a mustard-haired woman, were fit enough to escape. However, the raven-haired man killed her because she was among the spies that relented and gave away state secrets. All traitors must die, as per their training. And so, on the spring of year 714, the raven-haired man was proclaimed a hero and was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. An elaborate and luxurious party was held in his honor at the Marquis Palace. Not just did he manage to survive without spilling state secrets, he also brought secrets he gathered from the enemy. His achievement gave the Marquis immeasurable power and secured his position among the royals. However, the raven-haired man also discovered that the Marquis, the head of operations during the war, declined any talks of prisoner exchange. To him, doing so meant wasting precious resources. They were nothing but dispensable resources in the Marquis' eyes. That night, after the party, he was given a room to spend the night in the Marquis Palace, as part of his reward. Thoughts of his fallen comrades and the torture he endured haunted him in the quiet of the night. Still, to be able to return to his homeland is a blessing in itself. But, is it really worth it? After the war, what was he doing with his life? Morning came and the heaviness he is feeling haven't abated. Wandering aimlessly in the rose garden, he found himself looking inside the now empty practice room, through its closed windows. It did nothing to lift his mood. Feeling down, he questioned his intentions. Why did he ever come back? Did he intend to present the scarred and broken him to the blonde lady? His despair was too much to bear. He decided to go back to his room. But, as chance would play people in its hands, there she is. Lo and behold, his reason for his existence was there, in all her glory, as he turned around. Exchanging pleasantries, he felt he was in cloud nine. But that won't last long. As soon as he started to confess his feelings, her father came and all of her attention turned to the Marquis. No, she was never paying attention to what he was saying from the very start. Her words were part of her routine, something that she says to anyone without really listening to what was being said. Reaching them, her father properly introduced them to each other. The blonde lady showed interest when her father mentioned that he was the remarkable Special Operations Unit member who solely returned with valuable merits. When the raven-haired man started to mention his comrades, she interceded as if absolutely sure of what she's saying, that they sacrificed their lives for the country, that she mourns them deeply. As if it was some trivial topic the aristocrats talk about during a charity event. His control was truly noteworthy as he remained composed while the father and daughter tandem continued their useless chatter in front of him. She mourns them? But it never reached her eyes. Her expression remained as flawless as a smiling doll. Grief was nowhere to be found. Disillusionment replaced the years of admiration he has for her. When they finally bid him goodbye, he allowed himself to dive in full anger and despair. A saintess? It was all his delusion. Reality hit him and he vomited. She was no different from her father, the Marquis. He thought she was someone who could empathize with pain, lament over losses, and be angry with injustice. But, no. She is the Marquis' beloved only daughter, enjoying her position as if it's the most natural thing for her. Admiration turned to hatred. Loyalty turned to treachery. When escaping the enemy territories, the raven-haired man secured several confidential documents. These include reports of revolutionary groups forming within their kingdom and the formation of an army by the same group. If it were the past him, he could have immediately submitted it to the Marquis, but he opted to burn it. The raven-haired man started to harbor a desire to overthrow the Marquis. Anonymously, he sent the internal military formation of their own kingdom's army, and confidential matters related to the Marquis to the revolutionary forces. Hoping that the Marquis despair as much as he did. To lose as much as he lost. And just as he was present in his moments of misfortune, he longs to be present in his. To his long-sought-after blonde lady, he wished her a life as dark as has been for so long. He wanted her to be accountable, one way or another, since it is her fault that he became the way he is. The day of his inauguration as a lieutenant came, he was appointed as a trusted aide of the Marquis. A promising young officer, and yet he still felt as insignificant as the orphan boy he once was. Planning all his interaction with the blonde lady, he carefully studied her and timed their coincidental meetings. At a party he made certain that he'll have her interest, not a fleeting one but something that'll leave a lasting impression. She showed not a fleeting interest but something akin to genuine attraction when finally they met once again. He attended the piano recital of a known genius pianist which he knew the blonde lady idolizes. He studied her hobbies and tastes, read the books she fancies, followed the artists she admires. It come to fruition, for she finds it truly fascinating that he's a soldier and yet he loves literature. While her father and soldiers she met interpreted literature as something that makes people see the world pessimistically, the raven-haired man believes that it is the writer's job to reveal the light and dark sides of society. He catered his looks and demeanor to her preferences, and soon enough they became steady and had regular dates. On a day he failed to have a decent night's sleep, his character slipped and evoked unusual worry from her. Not wanting to thwart his plans, he assured her that he is okay. Still, she showed a bothered expression. Wondering if his cover was blown, what transpired next is nothing he anticipated. She confessed and openly admitted she's smitten with him. This paved the way to their marriage. His plan worked, the most sought-after lady in their kingdom is now his. Wishing she would break and lose her worth. He wished for her to mean nothing to him. For him to finally lose the love he feels for her. These are all the events that transpired prior and during the union of the raven-haired man and the blonde lady. Fast forward to current time. It's the usual hustle and bustle of the market. A guy with mocha-colored hair is trying to make a move on a lovely blonde woman as they discuss the prices of goods. The owner of said store came, the brown-haired woman, shooed him away and said that his persistence is making the blonde woman uncomfortable. Said blonde woman is none other than the ex-wife of the raven-haired man,